Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over and talking about the final injury report for the Ravens and Bears game this Sunday. Obviously, today is Friday night. The injury report came out just a few hours ago. There was practice earlier today, and we've got a lot of good news regarding the Ravens injury report and also the final status on Lamar Jackson, which isn't fully confirmed as of right now. There are a ton of reports from other people that are leading us to believe that he is going to be playing and starting this Sunday, which is what we expected going into this week. We had a feeling, obviously, that he was going to be playing, but we have the final injury report heading into the game this Sunday. But I also just wanted to say again that when coaches and stuff and you know, people on the staff and players will talk, right, they do not really reveal a ton of information. This is something, obviously, that has been known throughout football, but obviously, you know, they don't like to reveal a lot of how practice went or how the week went and stuff like that, because they try and leave as much of it a mystery as they possibly can, because the other team obviously can use that info to their advantage. But obviously, we understand the Ravens are sitting at 1-5. We understand that it's been a disappointing year so far. But we also understand that we've been pretty undermanned throughout this year. You know, we've been without a lot of key players in some games, especially in the last two games where you don't have your MVP quarterback. And also in the game against the Texans, for example, you were down a lot of guys. Against the Rams, you were down a lot of guys on defense as well. And obviously missing Lamar Jackson, which is the biggest key and part to this whole thing. But this Ravens season so far has been very, very odd. It's been a really weird start, but at the same time, there is life. There is hope regarding this season. There is hope in terms of getting back into the season, because at the same time, the team that is first place in the AFC North does have a pretty hard schedule coming up. They have some difficult games on their schedule, while for the Ravens, their schedule coming up is very, very easy. Again, I've said it multiple times before, the hardest game on this Ravens schedule in these next 6 games is against the Bears on Sunday. If you can get past the Bears, those next 5 games should honestly be automatic if you're just playing smart football. And we'll see what happens from there. In terms of the media and the public and how people perceive and look at the Ravens, there's quite a lot of people that see the Ravens obviously as like this year's biggest failure in terms of a team. Every single season there's always a team that has extremely high expectations and end up disappointing in terms of regular season record or in terms of playoffs. And then every single year there's also a team that is either like considered to be bad or mid heading into the year, and then they kind of blow expectations out of the water and look really good right now. The two teams that fit those categories, and to be honest with you, for the disappointment one right now, as of right now, the disappointment team, the headline disappointment team of the year so far, through 7 weeks into the season. Obviously, we are in week 8 right now. But through the first full 7 weeks of the season, the disappointment team of the year has been the Baltimore Ravens. I don't really know how you can look at any other team and say that it's a massive disappointment. I mean, you could look at a team like the Commanders, but the Commanders have also been dealing with some injury stuff with their quarterback, but so have we. So there's not really an excuse when it comes to that. But, you know, there's been disappointing teams this year, but there's also been some teams for the other category that I just talked about, like teams that have been really surprising the NFL this year. And those teams have been... Number one, for sure, has been the Indianapolis Colts. They have looked amazing with Danny Dimes at quarterback. The Colts have looked good. The Panthers have honestly been looking pretty good. I was going to say the Steelers, but they really haven't looked necessarily great this season. The Broncos have been winning games. The Chargers have been winning games. So there's been some surprising, quote-unquote, teams heading into this year. But there's also been some disappointing teams, and by far the disappointment of the year in general has been the Baltimore Ravens. And you can go back to baseball. For the people that watch baseball who listen to this podcast right now and listen during these Ravens episodes. Obviously, we do go over everything baseball related as well whenever stuff comes up. Obviously, we're sitting in the off season right now. There's not a ton of things going on regarding baseball. There is the World Series going on right now. And it's Blue Jays Dodgers. Obviously, pretty much the entire world is rooting for the Blue Jays to beat the Dodgers because it's the Dodgers. No one wants them to win. With the Blue Jays being in the Orioles division, It's a little bit weird, but at the same time, I do kind of want the Blue Jays to win. They got Sir Anthony Dominguez over there, former Oriole. They also got Anthony Santander over there, who's not playing due to injury, but obviously still rooting for them to win. But when you go back and look at baseball this year, one of the biggest disappointments in the league, in terms of like the American League, for example, was the Baltimore Orioles. And the disappointment in the National League was definitely like the Atlanta Braves. So the Orioles were a pretty big disappointment in the MLB this year, and the Ravens have been a pretty big disappointment in the NFL this year. So very similar situations both teams are in, except one team doesn't have a multi-time MVP player who can completely turn your season around just with his presence, which the Ravens do have. So obviously we've talked a lot about how the Ravens can get back into the season and how these next 6 games are going to have to be these are the most important games of the year, these next 6 games. And then obviously you have the 2 games against the Steelers later on in the season. That's going to be very important. But winning these next 6 games are going to be extremely, extremely important. And they're going to go out there and execute and get the job done. But as I was saying about like the media and how the media perceives the Ravens right now, obviously they look at this as a disappointment. But I think a lot of media outlets and a lot of what players and people on Twitter and people online have just been saying in general is that obviously the Ravens have been dealing with injury this year. They've been dealing with a lot of defensive player injuries, obviously losing Madubuike for the year, and they've also not had Lamar Jackson for 2 full games this year, and he didn't play pretty much most of the second half in that Chiefs game. Another thing that's known, obviously, is how bad the Ravens' defense has been this year, how atrocious it's been, especially in Week 1, especially in Week 3, especially in Week 4, how bad the Ravens' defense has been this year, especially in Week 5 as well. I don't know why I'm not referencing that game, but the only games this year where the defense has shown any sort of fight and passion was the game against the Browns, where, we were playing the Browns, so it wasn't really that hard, but the game against the Rams, where they held them to 17 points. The conditions were a little not in their favor, but the Rams-Ravens game, as I've said before, the way that our defense played mentally and the way they played physically and the way they just played with passion does give me confidence that this defense can turn it around, especially with getting pretty much all the guys back and healthy, other than Madubuike, of course. But let's just go over this injury report. So going over the final injury report, obviously we got practices in on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the final injury report for this game. We'll go over the Bears injury report tomorrow in the game preview. Obviously, we do the game preview always a day before the day of the game for the Ravens. So tomorrow we'll do the game preview. There are some very key players out for the Bears in this game tomorrow, which is just an extra reason why the Ravens should win this game. They're missing a lot of key players in their secondary, plus Cole Kmet, one of their tight ends. So they're dealing with a lot of big injuries as well regarding their defense, so this offense should feast. But we'll go over that more of that tomorrow. But going over the injury report for right now for the Ravens, obviously there's a lot of names on here, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. There being a lot of names on the injury report isn't really a bad thing. Some of it was like limited practices. Some of them was like a DNP due to illness and stuff like that. So all of these like names, and if there's not like there's a DNP somewhere or something like that, it does not mean like that it's bad. Like there's a lot of names on here, but it's not fully bad. But what I will say is if you look here at the game status, how many players on the injury report? There was Chidobe Awuzie, Zay Flowers, Cal Hamilton, DeAndre Hopkins, Marlon Humphrey, Lamar Jackson, Pat Ricard, Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, and Devontae Walker. So 10 total names on this injury report, and a lot of these names are very key players. But some of these were precautionary injuries kind of following what happened before the bye. So a lot of this is not like set in stone. Like these guys are fighting through injuries and stuff like that. A lot of these were like lingering injuries from the before the bye week. So starting off with Chidobe Awuzie, he got in 3 full practices this week after dealing with that hamstring injury, and he is good to go for the game against the Bears. Zay Flowers was dealing with that shoulder injury before the bye week. He got in 3 full practices. He is good to go versus the Bears. Kyle Hamilton dealing with that groin injury. He played through it last week. Played through it 2 weeks ago against the Rams. Obviously had the bye week to heal up. Was a limited participant in practice on Wednesday, but then got in a full practice on Thursday and on Friday, and he is good to go for the Bears game. DeAndre Hopkins, he was was dealing with an illness on Thursday. He played on Wednesday in full. Everything was fine. Wasn't even on the injury report on Wednesday. On Thursday, dealt with an illness, but then today on Friday, got in a full practice, and he is good to go for the Bears game. Marlon Humphrey had an illness as well at the beginning of this week. He had an illness at the beginning of this week, was battling through it, was kind of during the bye week as well. Didn't practice on Wednesday, but got in a full practice on Thursday and today, and he is good to go for this Bears game. We're going to skip Lamar. We'll talk about him in a second. Pat Ricard, obviously, has been dealing with a calf injury all year. Didn't practice for 5 or 6 weeks in a row. Finally got in a couple of limited practices before the Rams game. Had the bye week to fully heal. John Harbaugh said that the game against the Bears was kind of his target date. And what do you expect? Pat Ricard, this week, 3 full practices in a row. He is officially active for this game against the Bears, and this is going to be Pat Ricard's first game of the season. And again, I've preached the Pat Ricard hype and how important he's been for this team, and how important he is for this team right now. Obviously, there's been some offensive line problems. There's been some blocking problems when it comes to the run game and obviously the pass game. And I think Pat Ricard can really, really help. And for Pat Ricard, who's played a lot for the Ravens over the past few years with Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson's kind of used him being out there and helping in those certain situations. Same with the run game, and I think Pat Ricard just elevates this offense just a little bit more in a lot of key ways that really don't show up on the stat sheet as well. So shout out to Pat Ricard. He is officially back. This is going to be huge, and I think that visually when you watch the game and when you just see kind of the results, I do think that Pat Ricard is going to have a big impact on this game and with this with this team moving forward throughout this year. And I do think that the pass protection and the run blocking is going to be a little bit better with Pat Ricard kind of acting as that extra offensive lineman. Roquan Smith, obviously he had that hamstring injury in the Chiefs game. Didn't play against the Texans. Didn't play against the Rams. His target date was after the bye week, just like Lamar. Roquan got healthy over the bye. He's good to go. Full practices on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and he is good to go for this game on Sunday. Ronnie Stanley had an ankle injury. He was kind of a lingering ankle injury through the Texans game, through the Chiefs game, didn't play in the Rams game, had obviously the bye week to fully heal. Ronnie Stanley got in a full practice on Wednesday, full practice on Thursday, and he didn't practice today due to rest, so it was nothing to do with the injury. He didn't practice today due to rest, but he is going to be good to go for the Bears game. And then Devontae Walker, dealing with that oblique injury, he got in 3 full practices, and he is also good to go. So 9 of the 10 players on this injury report have fully good to go statuses, official confirmation. They are going to be good to go, not questionable, not doubtful, not probable. They are officially all 9 of those 10 guys that I just named. They are all officially good to go for this game. But when it comes to Lamar Jackson, we understand how important he is. We understand you kind of got to be a little bit careful when you're recovering from an injury and coming back to practice from an injury. Lamar Jackson missed the game against the Texans, missed the game against the Rams, didn't practice in either of those weeks leading up to the games. Obviously got through this bye week, and then on Wednesday returned to practice in a limited fashion, but him being out there obviously was a big deal. In yesterday's practice, he was out there in a limited fashion, and once again, I said if Lamar Jackson can get in a full practice on Friday, he should be good to go. And what do you know? Lamar Jackson got in a full practice today, which is obviously the big news. There was a video of Lamar Jackson. He was cheesing up, talking to his teammates, walking out back from practice. So Lamar Jackson looked happy. He got in a full practice. He was a full participant. From all the coaches, they said that he looks good. They said that he played good. And Todd Monken today said that if he says he's good to go, then he is going to be good to go. So I would guess it's up to Lamar. I'm sure they'll probably ask him tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, hey, are you good to go? And I'm sure he will say yes, but he is a questionable status for the game on Sunday versus the Bears. And a lot of people are a little bit worried because it says questionable and it doesn't say that he's good to go. But again, when it comes to injuries like this, when it comes to hamstring injuries, which are kind of pretty easily, it's an easier injury to kind of re-aggravate, again, it's up to Lamar. It's one of those injuries where if you feel good, like coaches don't know how a player feels. You know what I mean? Like coaches aren't really going to determine how a player feels. So when it comes to the questionable tag, I'm sure they kind of told him like, hey, we're going to leave you questionable right now. We're going to have you sleep on it tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to ask you if you're good, and then if you feel good, then we're going to activate you for the game. So Lamar Jackson is questionable, but from reports that work for the Ravens, from just reporters in general like Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all these signs are pointing to Lamar Jackson playing on Sunday. The mass majority obviously expects him to play against the Bears on Sunday, and I'm sure that the only fan base and only people that are going to tell you otherwise is the Bears fans, because they do not want to play against Lamar Jackson, and I'm sure that they are a little upset that Lamar Jackson's been hurt over the past couple games, and now he's coming back against them. So, especially against the Bears defense that is down a lot of their key secondary players. So, Lamar Jackson is questionable right now. Nobody freak out. I'm like 98 or 97% sure that he's going to be good to go. The expectation that he's going to be good to go, and barring a setback that happens like tonight or tomorrow morning or before the game, Lamar Jackson should be good to go. The expectation is that he's going to play and be out there on Sunday. So very good news regarding the Ravens. Lamar Jackson seems to be back and ready to go. Not 100% confirmed, but we can pretty much assume after his full practice today that he will be starting in the game against the Bears on Sunday. What I will say is, and we'll talk about it more in the game preview tomorrow, I don't know if they're going to call a lot of design runs for Lamar. I don't think that they want to have him go out there and carry the ball himself for like 9 or 10 times in a game. I think that he is going to be sticking in the pocket a lot of this game. So again, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but the offensive line is going to have to be on their extra best. I was going to say extra best behavior, but the offensive line is going to have to play really good in this game against the Bears, because Lamar probably is going to be sticking in the pocket a lot, which is fine. He can obviously kill you from the pocket, but Lamar probably isn't going to force himself to run. If he has a lane and it obviously will help the team, then he'll do it. But I'm sure in terms of designed runs, I'm sure that we're not going to have a lot of designed runs in this game for Lamar. Maybe one, but I think we want to kind of protect Lamar as much as we can. Obviously, with a quick turnaround game on Thursday, I think getting him out of this game against the Bears 110% fully healthy is the biggest goal. So I do not expect them to have Lamar do a bunch of designed runs in this game, which obviously could affect the running game in general with Derrick Henry. But Lamar, as we know, can win games purely with his arm, which we've seen many times before. But we'll see what ends up happening with this game. And this is the full injury report for the week. It's looking good to go, and it is a good time right now, and a lot of optimism regarding this comeback in the season. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify. Also, make sure to click the link in the bio of whatever platform that you're listening on to check out the Instagram and the Twitter. On Twitter, I post a lot of initial reactions to stuff, like earlier today when all the Lamar stuff was coming out. I was, live tweeting it all. I live tweet during Ravens games, live tweet during Orioles games when they're on, and also just discuss live updates like in real time whenever they happen on there before I actually record a video, with verbal, stuff that you can listen to. So make sure to check out the Twitter. It's a lot of fun over there. Make sure to check out the Instagram as well. I post every single time a new episode is out. So make sure to give both of those a follow. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, a follow up on Spotify. I love and appreciate you guys so much. We're back in the swing of things. Obviously, we didn't record some episodes last week due to the bye, but again, we're out of the bye. We're into a new week. We got a quick turnaround next week as well. We got Ravens games back to back for the rest of the year. So not for the rest of the year, but yeah, pretty much for the rest of the year. We got Ravens games every single day leading up into January as well. So it's a very fun time. Obviously, this Ravens season is going to carry us right into spring training, which is going to carry us right into baseball season, which then that's going to carry us right back into football season next year. So obviously, there's a ton of content every single day. So again, I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the official game preview before the game on Sunday. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great Stills day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.